Okay, today we're going to learn how to build a gingerbread house. We have here our pieces of gingerbread, the front and back, the two sides, and the two roof pieces. We have our royal icing in a piping bag, and on this one I have a number 10 round tip on here. If you don't have piping bags and tips, you can just use a Ziploc bag, push the icing down into the corner, cut the corner off, and you have your bag right there. I like having a knife on hand. One, it helps to mark where I'm going to put the gingerbread house on my board, and two, it can help clean up extra royal icing. And then I also have a jar. You can use a spice bottle, a can of soup, anything to help prop up that very first piece of gingerbread. And then we're putting it all onto a cake board that's been covered in foil. You can use anything you want as your base. You can use a piece of wood, a piece of styrofoam, you can use a cake plate. It's all up to you. So let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start with putting up our first piece. It's going to be the front of the house, and I'm going to put it about right here on my board. You can take the side piece and see exactly where your house is going to sit. If you want to move it forward so there's less yard, you just move it forward. Okay, so this is where I want the front of my house. I'm going to take my knife, and with the back side of the knife, I'm simply going to mark on this foil here where I want to put my bead of icing. So then I take my piping bag and I lay down bead of icing, because I'm leaving the opening for the door, and I'm going to stand my house up right into that bead of icing. Now, since it's just this one piece, I'm going to take my jar and I'm actually going to put it over here on this side of the house, and then just lean the piece of gingerbread up against it. Okay? So now the next is going to be the side. Again, I can put a piece here, and I can take my knife and I can mark the length of where that piece is going to go. Or I can simply also just lay it down here and then know that that's the length I have to pipe. So let's go ahead and put a bead of icing down here for the bottom. Now what we're also going to do is put a bead of icing along the back side of the front. So now we just take the side piece, nestle it right there into the bottom, and press it up against the front of the house. Now your royal icing is going to be thick enough and strong enough so that we no longer need our little extra tool here. So we're going to do the next side. Again, I'm just going to go ahead and lay the piece down next to where I'm going to put it. Put down my bead of icing, remembering to go up along the front, back side, and we stick that down in there. Okay, now we will be making adjustments in just a couple seconds here, because now we have the back side that we're going to be putting on, and we need to make sure that it's going to be lining up, which it seems to be lining up pretty well. Okay, so once again, we're going to go ahead and put our bead of icing down for the base. We need another bead of icing up along the sides. And we pick up this piece, We stick it in the bottom first, and then we press it up against the sides. Now what I like to do is eyeball it, make sure that everything is lined up, make sure that this wall is straight, make sure that wall is straight, and give it a nice little squeeze so that we definitely have contact. And there you go, that's the 4 walls. Now I recommend waiting about at least 20 minutes before we put the roof on. Okay, the main 4 walls have had a chance to set up a little bit, so now we're going to put the roof on. We're going to run a bead of icing along the peaks and along the top of the sides. We'll go ahead and just do that on both sides. Try and keep a nice consistent amount of icing on there. And we'll go ahead and put the first side on, line it up to the top, and we push it on down. What I like to do is hold that in place at the same time that I go ahead and just put the other side on. Make sure you press it down. And I tend to just hold it here just for a couple minutes. And this is where you really need your icing to be thick to get it to hold. If you happen to let go and it just slides a little bit, that's okay. Just put it right back where it was at and just hold it for just a little bit longer. You can also get something, another spice jar or something, to prop up the bottom edge here if you're not comfortable with just leaving it. Okay, that should go ahead and stay on its own. And here we have our finished gingerbread house. Let that dry for a good couple hours at least before you start adding your candy and all your other decorations to it. So happy decorating!